Welcome to Health Tech Heroes, where we talk to innovators who are rewriting the DNA of healthcare. Today, we are joined by Alexander Bridgen, founder and CEO of Ayur, who is building a patient-owned, data-driven marketplace for primary and preventive care. With a background in financial economics and experience as venture strategist at NAX Group and venture architect at Fountech Labs, Alexander is leveraging his expertise in strategic planning and relationship management to make preventive healthcare personalized and accessible. Based in Austin, Texas, he is putting patients at the center of their healthcare journey, not just as a recipient of care, but as owners of their health data. We are excited to explore how his vision for Ayur is reshaping preventive healthcare delivery. Welcome to Health Tech Heroes, Alexander.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here, Alex. You are the founder and CEO of Ayur. Can you share what inspired you to focus on preventative healthcare and build a patient-owned, data-driven marketplace?
Yeah.
This question, can you start with the essence of the word Ayur?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably, I can weave it in halfway through because there's a whole story as to why we landed there. But really, I think you summed it up quite well at the beginning. My background is that I've been building businesses in tech and especially in healthcare for as long as I can remember. I started my first business when I was 15, started sort of working in venture studios during college actually, and been doing it ever since. So I realized pretty early on that entrepreneurship and creating a startup, venture building, whatever you want to call it, is really just the act of solving problems and hopefully trying to do so at scale. So it's solving problems that people really care about, and that's how you build a very successful business. And basically, I became borderline obsessed actually with finding problems that I didn't feel like anyone was solving at all, or at least not properly. And that was my whole career. Like I was finding those problems, designing the solutions to them, and putting the right people in place to go and solve them. But that was me, finding the problems. When it came to this one, I say the problem found me, which was I had a family member who had a heart attack due to stress. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We called an ambulance and they said, it's going to be 4 hours, maybe, if you can get one at all. So I drove him to the hospital myself, pouring with rain, speed cameras, speed bumps, everything. It was like the worst journey of my life. And he spent a month kind of being passed from one hospital to another, waiting for surgery. And thankfully, made a full recovery. It was absolutely fine. But I'd kind of been playing with healthcare in general for a while, realizing there were so many problems to solve. And I kind of knew from quite early on that we weren't going to solve them from within the current system itself. There needed to be something outside of it. This healthcare was so fragmented. Patients were having such a hard time finding the care that they needed. It needed to come from outside. And what I realized in that moment was actually the biggest failure of healthcare was failing to prevent sickness in the first place. It was the realization that actually trying to rebuild the system, trying to completely create a new one actually wasn't the answer in and of itself. The real answer would be creating a system, a new system, that actually meant you didn't need the old one anymore. One that meant you didn't actually get sick, that meant you had the chance to just live the healthiest, fullest version of your life possible and hopefully avoid those chronic health conditions, the heart attacks, the strokes that so many people have. And I kind of referred to it as a lot of people, after they have these health events, they get a second chance at life. A lot of people, because of the current health system, don't really understand how to live that first one to the fullest extent possible, how to stay healthy. And that's how Ayur was born, realizing that problem was not getting solved. And that's exactly why it's called Ayur. It comes from the Sanskrit word meaning life. It's meant to give people a chance to really live their life and live in their life rather than so many people worrying about getting sick, having health anxiety and ending up. Actually, you have people getting themselves to a point where their anxiety is so bad because they're worried about getting sick that they actually get sick. So we set out to go and solve that.
So there was an event that happened in life, and this was in the United States, or was it in your?
It was back home in the UK.
When you're in the UK, okay. Yeah, I mean, United States is a bigger country with bigger healthcare problems, I think, and there's a lot of problems to solve
very different
as
problems.
far as the.
You don't have the problem of not getting an ambulance, but you do have the problem of how expensive one will be when you do get it.
You do get an issue. Is this second life becomes even more difficult here in the United States, trying to pay for the
Yeah, no, the cost of
for
managing
yeah,
conditions once they do occur
getting
is
through that
terrifying.
barrier. So that was an event, and I'm glad your family member was 100% fine. And since then, did you have any other incident in your life that woke you up and made you dedicated? I think the family member was a wake up call for you. But was there something else that happened in your life? Because you're
Yeah.
not looking at individual level, but you're looking at a population level. Was there any other incident in your life that happened, Alex? Can you
Yeah,
share with
I would
us?
say, my family member was the realization that something had to be done, and it began this probably 6, maybe 12-month process of figuring out what it is we need to do, knowing that, trying to create a new, almost, we kind of call it like a front door to care, putting a new front door to healthcare. Realizing how difficult and complicated that would be led to this ongoing discovery and this realization that actually one of the biggest problems we have is that most of us don't understand how to regulate and manage our own health at all. And especially, my generation, I'm 25. I'm like anti social media for the most part, but all of my friends, they get their health advice from TikTok. They get it from Instagram. And so much of it is harmful. So much of it is just wildly inaccurate. And what they don't realize a lot of the time is, that health advice is actually somebody trying to sell you a supplement that probably isn't FDA regulated. It's not real, genuine advice from a healthcare professional. But we have this situation where people almost don't trust their healthcare professionals because they look at the state of insurance, they look at the state of big pharma, and they get terrified. They don't know who to trust. So that was the realization that, the best way to build that new system that keeps people out of the old one is to give them agency, to give them education, and to make knowledge and data very, very accessible so that anybody, you, I, or anybody who wants it can have their own health data, can have a genuine, real conversation about what that data means so that they understand it and they can act upon it in a way that they have the agency, they have the control over what healthcare means. We know it looks very, very different from one person to the next. There's people who will go to the hospital for everything. There's people who will not go to the hospital unless they are, in a really, really bad condition. And there's most people fall somewhere in between that most things they want to be able to take care of themselves. They don't want to take medication for everything. And actually a lot of it, there's plenty of statistics out there, 80+% of all health conditions, all premature deaths, hospitalizations are stress related. Well, that's something that actually we all create internally. It's not this external force. Life has challenges and we create stress ourselves based on how we interpret those challenges. And it was somebody saying those words to me that clicked on how Ayur was going to come together and become what it is today, which is taking that principle and helping people turn the data into that understanding of what can they control themselves, what can they do on an everyday basis, small little things to keep them healthy, self-regulate essentially. And what do you need to go to the healthcare provider for? If you're physically sick and you need antibiotics, you need to go to a healthcare provider and get it. But if you're stressed, burnt out, fatigued, that's something that you can manage by educating and learning really how that system works. And it's all connected, the mind, the body, and many would say the spirit too. It's all one interconnected thing and needs to be treated as such. And that realization was what really changed for me and how I looked at my own health, my own well-being, and something about it works because building a business from the ground up should be the most stressful thing I've ever done, but I've never been less stressed in my life. So it says something.
So you were in a job, you were working for other companies. You could have made an impact being there. But what made you take that leap into entrepreneurship?
I would say a big part of it was situational. This was so personal to me that I felt like I needed to dedicate myself to it 100%. And that meant this started out as, let's see if we can do this alongside a full-time job. And the answer very quickly became, no, this needs all of my attention. It needs everything I've got, and it needs my capital. It needs everything. So we started out, I was self-funding pretty much everything. And then we raised a little bit of capital from some early angel investors. And we said, okay, now we need to go 100%. Myself and my co-founder went full-time. And we knew that every day that we spent doing this part-time as a hobby or as a side project, it was going to happen slower. And every day that this product was not live, was not, on people's fingers, was not being used, there were going to be more people like my family member who do end up in hospital through no fault of their own. And, we were very lucky that he was okay. He made a full recovery, but that's not the case for everybody. So it was just a pure realization that this thing not being done meant people were dying unnecessarily. I wasn't okay sitting around and waiting until, the perfect time came or until there was enough money sitting away to feel comfortable. It was, no, this has to be done. And every day that it's not done, I was regretting the fact that I wasn't doing it full time, that I didn't have the extra hours in the day. If I could have found a way to magically find more hours, then I would have done so. But something had to give, and it had to be me going all in on this.
So you were willing to take the stress on yourself to reduce the stress on people. That's a noble deed. But at the end, you feel that this is less stressful because you're passionate about it. So that it worked itself out.
Exactly.
So coming down to the previous thought that we had held on to, what is Ayur's core philosophy? What is the main problem it is solving, and how does it do it?
Yeah, so it was on the fact that people are tracking more health data than ever before. Most people you see have some kind of wearable device. They see their step count on their phone. They see their heart rate. People are tracking stress. They're tracking sleep. They're tracking all of their physical activity. But most people, if you tell somebody your stress level's high, you tell them their sleep quality isn't good enough, it doesn't do much to actually improve the situation. And anybody who's like me, they look at it and they get frustrated with themselves, actually, if the data isn't where they want it to be and they don't understand why. So it was this realization that data alone is really just noise. So we start with that. We start with data. We start with a wearable device. We have a partner who provides lab testing, so at-home testing kits, which I know have become incredibly popular in the last couple of years of people wanting to have that information. That's our starting point. We feed that through then a large language model, chatbot, whatever you want to call it. We refer to it as like a healthcare concierge. What that's doing is actually being a little bit like a personal health journal. It's being a little bit like a mirror, whatever you want to kind of think of it as. It's helping you get context. It's helping answer any questions. And actually, it's helping you learn to ask the right questions about the data so that you, no matter what your level of understanding is today, it can take you from I know nothing about my health to I know enough to manage it for myself and know when to go and ask for professional support. So we do that. The way I kind of refer to it is it holds up a mirror and it reflects whatever you are ready to see. So that could be pointing out, where is this stress coming from? It could be pointing out why are we not sleeping properly? It could be saying, okay, we need more information here. We know that most people are dysregulated to some extent. They have too much of things they shouldn't have, not enough of things they should have, and they can be completely out of balance. And there's these huge physical symptoms of that dysregulation or actually disconnection. Everything we feel stress, it's a reaction to challenge. So there's a process by which we actually turn these external forces into stress. Most of us don't understand that. And we look at, oh my God, I'm so stressed. And then now I'm sick. This is terrible. The reality is you're sick because you're stressed, right? So we help you understand that. We help you learn how the system works. And over time, the ideal goal, the ultimate measure of success for this platform is day by day, you should need us less because you should have so much understanding that you don't need to check in and ask, why do I feel stressed? Because you either already know why and you're already doing something to correct it, or actually you don't feel stressed anymore because you are kind of living in your life instead of being caught up in how things feel, caught up in what does health look like? I haven't lost as much weight as I wanted to. I haven't gone to the gym as much as I wanted to. But actually, if you're healthy mentally, if you're healthy physically, you shouldn't be worrying about that. And that's the biggest thing we try and teach people is, what does health feel like? Not what does it look like? Optimal health for me is very different to optimal health for everybody else. And the thing we always say is, most platforms out there talk about longevity. They talk about behavioral optimization. We do not want to try and optimize your behavior, try and force you to comply with, you have to take these certain steps every day and you'll be okay. We want to optimize your understanding of yourself and your awareness of what do I need to do in this moment to deal with how I feel right now. I just need to take a break. I need to shut myself in my room and watch Netflix and not talk to anybody for a few hours. Or it could be, I need to go on a run. I need to take the dog for a walk, whatever it might be. It's going to help you get to the point where you know the answer without having to ask the question.
So effectively, the way I am understanding now, instead of telling that, hey, in a long term, you need to do 10,000 steps, you need to have 8 hours of sleep, what you're doing is right now, you are under stress. So this is the moment you need to take a break. Essentially, you're putting a mirror, looking at everything at a short term so that you can do something about it right now. Is that the core of it?
Yeah, very much. It's the small things you can do today to feel that little bit better, to have that little bit more clarity so that you do sleep better, you do feel less stressed, and day by day, those kind of incremental improvements really stack up. And what it comes down to, is the platform that we've built is really in 3 pillars. One is that data pillar. We have the ring, we have the lab testing. The middle, the brain, if you like, of the whole thing is that concierge system that's helping you understand what that data actually means. What are the little things you can do today, tomorrow? What are the things that are potentially harming you? What are the things that are helping you? And hopefully let's do more of those things that are helping, less of those things that are harming, and day by day we'll get healthier. And then the long-term view of what this becomes is then actually signposting you to all of the different resources. Today, that is coaching, education, content. We have like a resource library. We have all of these things that you can access. The long term is actually, let's say you go and get that lab test and it tells you, you have nowhere near enough magnesium in your body. We want to be able to say, here is a really, really high quality magnesium supplement that we've tested, we've validated. We know it actually does what it says it'll do and is what it says it is. You'll be able to get that on our platform. You'll be able to work with those coaches. You'll be able to work with nurse practitioners. Every lab test that we offer, it comes with a consultation with a licensed physician, every single one of them. You'll be able to facilitate all of that through our platform. And the term is actually, how do we kind of show you what's happening in your body, help you learn why it's happening, show you what you can do about it, and then give you the ecosystem to go and find the things you need to do, whatever it is you need to do about it.
All right. This is excellent. I understand there are 3 pillars. First of all, monitoring, then analyzing the data, and then being in an ecosystem where you can do something about the analysis. So if I am a patient, if I come to Ayur for the ring, just walk me through as briefly as possible into the journey so that I can implement it right now. The critical aspects of this question is, so will I be wearing a ring 24/7 besides my, say, the Samsung watch I'm wearing right now? And the second thing is, the data is, in the second pillar, is the data fully AI or it is also supplemented by healthcare professionals? And the third part is, when I go into the ecosystem, the support system also includes, you did mention nurse practitioners and other healthcare workers as well in the third pillar. And is it like a call away, email away, or a chat away? Just a journey from a patient's perspective.
Yeah, so it starts off with the ring. It is using clinical graded sensors. So we kind of refer to it as being like having a lab wrapped around your finger 24 hours a day. It has a battery life of about 10 days. It's waterproof, everything else. So we want people to be wearing it as much as they feel comfortable with. The more they wear it, the more data we have, the more information we have to pull from. It does track sleep. It does track stress. It does look at glucose levels. It looks at all of your physical activity, all of those kind of vital signs that show us where you're at. You'll be able to see all of that data. We have gone through, we work with an OEM who has all of the kind of clinical trials, et cetera, for the accuracy of that data where, high 90th percentages, so 96 to 99% across all metrics that we look at. You'll be able to see all of that data. You'll be able to click into it and go and look at what it means, look at it over time. The main thing is, it'll take the first 30 to 60 days to really get to know you. And then you're going to be engaging with that journal, that concierge. It's going to be asking you questions. It's going to be checking in with you throughout the day. And what we're really excited about is the more people use it, the better it gets to understand their patterns. And what's fascinating is, stress doesn't sort of just appear at 100% out of nowhere. It creeps up slowly throughout the day. So when we see the sort of warning signs, if you like, of stress has gone up a little bit, it's not quite a crisis yet, but it's the warning signs of one. We can check in and we can actually help you regulate before you completely lose the ability to, because I don't remember off the top of my head the exact figures, but the amount your IQ drops when you do experience really high stress is terrifying. And most of us don't in that moment, you're stuck in that fight, flight, freeze. And most of us choose freeze. We don't know what to do. We can help kind of put the right things in front of you before you get that. So that concierge, it will sort of surface resources. It will say, these are the things that have worked for you in the past. These are the things that we think will work for you in the future based on everything we know about you. These are the free resources that are already included on our platform. This may be actually looking at, here's the summary from the last session you had with your coach. And this is what they told you in this moment you should be doing. Let's try that out. Let's walk you through it together. And let's see how that works out, and let's feed that back. The primary part is really those two. Somebody should be able to come onto our platform and never need to add anything else in to have everything that they need. If they then decide that they want to take this further, they want to go and work with a professional, we have about 25 coaches already on the platform. Many of those are registered nurses or nurse practitioners. They are acting in very much an educational capacity. We have personal trainers, we have nutritionists, we have sports psychologists, we have a couple of social workers, coaches, all kinds of of people who are actually the ones creating that content. And much of that content is free, publicly available on the platform. So you'll be able to engage with those resources. Some of them may have guided activities for you to walk through. They may have free workshops, free seminars, free videos, all kinds of different things that you can use to help improve that level of understanding. And again, over time, the view is that that will expand into having all kinds of online events, sort of peer-to-peer support networks. Anything and everything you need to stay healthy should be on that platform.
So there is a great balance of technology. And if you need human intervention and human consultation, you have that available too. So it is
Absolutely.
not just technology and it's stopped there.
No.
So that's a holistic approach to life, or Ayur, I guess. And from your perspective, I'm sure you have had some great stories coming out of Ayur, where a patient or a physician or somebody, a healthcare provider, came to you and said, Alex, this ring has today saved my life, or it has given me a really good perception so that I can live my life better. Is there any experience because of Ayur that is really close to your heart?
Yeah, I mean, the most common thing we hear, the first batch of rings went out to about 100 or so beta users only a couple months ago. And the biggest thing we've heard is actually that they stopped judging themselves because the data told them things were okay. We had people saying, I felt ridiculous because I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But when I look at the data, it shows me I'm getting enough sleep. I'm fully rested. I have enough energy. And they stopped having that self-judgment. We've also had people looking at, they feel really, really overwhelmed and they look at the stress data and they realize actually its level is so high that they are so stressed all the time that they're taking these fairly small things overall and they feel so amplified that they can then start working through that of how do we bring that baseline down so that you have more clarity, more peace of mind to handle those day-to-day challenges. And people feel so much better from having something that kind of works with them and creates a wrapper around them rather than just says, you're stressed, figure out what to do about it. They actually find the answer with the platform. So it's been really, really powerful. And one thing, again, that really sticks with me is there was somebody who came on very early and he said the reason he was there is because he knew if his father and grandfather had this ring back when they needed it, it probably would have saved their lives. So it's things like that that remind us why we're doing it and why this is so important, because that could have so easily been the experience with my family member. They could have very easily not been here anymore. So it was built to help people like him not end up in that situation.
Yeah, what a great testimonial and what a good thought process. Somebody coming and telling you, if my grandfather had this ring, they would be alive today. And one thing I'm trying to wrap my mind around is this is not just saying that, hey, you go out there and your stress levels are high and leaving you there. It is telling you that your baseline stress levels are high, so that when it actually manifests at a much higher level, that is not the point you need to work on. You need to, when you're calm and you're sitting at home, even then your stress levels are actually higher because that's your baseline. And that's where you need to work so that you bring your baseline, even the baseline down. That is a critical mindset change for me. I would imagine maybe I am like a little bit high strung even at home. Perhaps even when I'm resting, I need to think about like, hey, how can I reduce this? And that's where I think the next steps come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, hey, how do I do it? Then I come to the second pillar, perhaps the third pillar, and take the help and say that, hey, this is how you reduce your baseline.
One of the things we hear people say so often is, I'm stressed and now I'm fighting with my wife and now I'm sick. It's like, no, all of those things are happening because that baseline stress is so high that actually those small day-to-day things feel so amplified because you never allow yourself to get to that place of just actually feeling peaceful and clear and relaxed. And it's really upsetting, honestly, especially the younger generation. That baseline is higher than it has ever, and it's not going down, that's for sure. People are so anxious about finances. They're anxious about their career prospects. They're anxious about, will I ever move out of my parents' house and buy my own place? They're anxious about, if I get sick, I can't afford to pay for it. There's so many things causing that baseline to be really, really high that it is an incredible mindset shift of we have units of challenge in our life and we have units of stress that we create as a result. And we do have a lot more control over it than we believe that we do for the most part. So many small things we can do to lower that baseline that don't feel terrifying. And the biggest thing we hear as well is, people saying, I'll be okay when this thing happens, when I have more money in my savings account, or this project at work is over. Well, no, we want you to be okay today. We want you to be okay tomorrow. Whatever is going on in your life shouldn't dictate whether you are okay or you are healthy. You should be able to make that choice yourself, and we'll give people the tools to do that.
Wonderful. Challenges with Ayur?
No shortage of those. I mean, look, I say it pretty often. We have set out to do some of the most complicated things imaginable with, hardware, huge amounts of data, a marketplace in the healthcare field. I mean, that's a lot of people's nightmare is trying to string those together. The hardware has been the hardest thing by far. Between tariffs, production delays, supply chain challenges, everything that you can think of has already happened to us at some point, but we've managed to get through all of them, and we've managed to keep our heads on straight just about. So I always find it kind of funny, like I said at the beginning, that I probably should be the most stressed I've ever been, because I love what we're working on, and because we have a really incredible team of people who all are doing this for, none of us make any money from this. None of us have a salary. We're all here because we have to be, because we have to do this, and we get through it and we keep moving forward. And day by day, we get closer to having this thing out there for the people who need it.
That's amazing. I think the reason why you're doing it and the way you're doing it, I hope the success is just around the corner, and I wish you the best on this.
Thank you.
Given your experience in venture strategy and architecture, what trends do you see shaping the future of personalized and preventive healthcare, say in next 5 years?
I think decentralization will be the biggest thing, that patients and everybody, they want more and more ownership of their own data. They don't want it to sit in someone else's repository. They don't have a different health record with every healthcare provider. They want that interoperability, and they want ownership. Patients want to own and have a say in their own healthcare. You see that more and more with the sort of Gen Z. They want everything to be personalized. They want everything to be around them. They want to have authority, and they really deserve that. They are crying out for it every day. So I think that will be probably the biggest trend. And what that will mean is most likely the education, the coaching will become a forefront. And I do see especially nurses really becoming the front line of what the new care workforce looks like. It will be so educational. It will be very personalized, and it will not be delivered, when somebody walks into the hospital after waiting 2 months to get there. It'll be delivered the moment somebody wants to pick up the phone and ask a question. It'll be delivered through sort of the consultations, the coaching, the workshops, seminars, etc. And actually, so much of it will become sort of asynchronous, that individuals will get resources from their care provider that they want to be able to access on their phone whenever they feel like it. They want articles, they want podcasts, actually is a huge thing that people want. They want advice that they can go and tap back into. And I think that will be the biggest shift. And that's going to be really interesting, tied in with the fact that so many family-owned clinics are coming up for sale as people look to retire. The buyer market for them is pretty small right now, because most people don't want the headache of running a care practice right now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many of them do shift towards the kind of lifestyle medicine, the natural and functional medicine that people are really looking for.
That's awesome. You mentioned Gen Z, who's very curious about this, very keen on this, right?
Yeah.
Trust me on this. My generation was also. We just didn't have the solutions and the means to do it. We could have had all this, and we would have been much happier with this. Instead of going from one records to, we didn't like the paperwork either. Trust me on that. Yeah, but I think we have the solutions now. There is no reason for us not to have it for everyone. I'm glad where it is going to go, and it'll be pretty fascinating if everything is on the phone. And I think there is a huge place for human-to-human interaction, but at a very critical place where when I am all well-informed, where I need real help rather than getting informed, if I get that help from a human, I think that's where I think a really good spot is between technology and human interaction.
Yeah, it may seem like a strange example, but you see it a lot in car sales now, that people go to the car dealership knowing what car they're going to buy. They know the price they want to pay for it. They know all of the details when they walk in because they do the research online. I see healthcare going a similar way, that by the time you set foot in the doctor's office in front of your provider, you're not asking them 1,000 questions. You're going, these are the problems. These are the things I have been trying. This is what's working. And they'll be able to then point you in the right direction. And when you do need that professional help, they'll have all of that same data that you have, all of the research you've been doing, and they'll have the full picture of, what happens outside of that 15-minute consultation is a lot more important. And that's one of the things that we're really excited about, is having that very subjective data from the journaling, from how do you actually feel, and the very, very objective data of what do the lab tests tell us, what does the ring tell us. Because actually that's been something, especially in mental health, so hard to quantify. If I say my stress level is an 8 out of 10, well, what that means to me and what that means to you, anyone else who's watching this, is a
quite
complete different thing. So we'll be able to actually show relatively objectively, where does stress really fall for this person today, tomorrow, yesterday, and everything in between.
Yeah, again, that level 8 goes back to your baseline.
Exactly.
For healthcare professionals and individuals considering transitions to entrepreneurship, you are one of the few entrepreneurs who are actually in the mode of experiencing this transition. I want to believe. What is their advice? Do or don't?
So we're in a really unprecedented time right now. So one of the things that I always point out to people is, if I tried to do this 5 years ago, I would have needed a team of probably 30 people and millions of dollars of someone else's money to even build a prototype. That is changing so incredibly fast. There's a lot of talk of the no code and low code. I will caveat that. I don't think the AI tools are 100% of the way there, that if you want to build something truly differentiated, you're not going to do it without any human beings with just no technical background at all. But you can do most of it. So my advice to somebody is, if you are really serious about exploring an idea, go. If you're not technical, if you are technical, great, do it. If you're not technical, go and find someone who is. Bring them in as a co-founder, bring them as a consultant, whatever your appetite is, and build a prototype. You can throw that together in a matter of weeks with almost no money. I often joke about it. Our development team is one person. It's my co-founder. We have the manpower of probably 100 people because of all of the different tools that we use. And they might not like me saying this, most of them are still on a free trial. It costs us maybe a couple $100s a month to have an entire development team. So do that. Go build a prototype. Find somebody with enough experience to at least supervise those tools and fill in the gaps that they leave. Sell that prototype. Get pre-sales. That is exactly what we did. We created a very basic demo version. We did some pre-sales, we raised a little bit of money, and we built the full thing. Go do that. And before you know it, you have a business that you could take to an investor and say, I've already sold it. I've already built this prototype. You'll know by that point if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, find the next thing and do it again. And eventually it will work. I see a lot of articles on LinkedIn that people say ideas are really the new currency. Building it, the execution is becoming easier and easier. Ideas are the currency. You put the right idea in, you will get the right result out. And if you follow that process, build that basic prototype, you get those pre-sales, you can go to an angel investor and you can get the $100,000, $200,000 that it will take to actually get that thing into market very quickly. And honestly, I come from a VC kind of background. I would advise most people to stay clear of that, because actually you're better off bootstrapping. You're better off building a business that becomes sustainable, that has revenue, has profit left over at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, because then you have something that you can actually really focus on. You have something that is viable, and you're not stuck on this treadmill of, I need to raise money to pay everything, otherwise we're not going to be here 2 years from now. If you can just build something small, and it doesn't have to be, I started off doing this a couple hours a week. I chose to go full time on it because I wanted to do it faster. And honestly, when we started, we didn't have all of the same tools we have now. Even a year ago, 2 years ago, we didn't have them, but we do now. So use them.
So strongly do, and you're also saying how to do it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%.
One of the things I said in this is, if I didn't do this, I was going to regret that forever. And if I tried and it didn't work, at least I tried.
No regrets. No regrets.
Regrets at all.
100%. Yeah, I'm in the same stage when I'm building my business right now. And I have a very good feeling about it. And if I don't do it, I will certainly regret it.
Exactly the same for us. We had no idea if it was going to work or not, but we think it just about might.
Okay, wonderful. So as a final question, Alexander, for you, you have 90 seconds to share anything that we might have missed during 90 seconds is an open question for you. Right. If you want to take 4 minutes, that's okay too, but go for it.
I'll do my best to keep it quick. No, I think the most important thing with all of this is, we're building this to help people. We're always trying to make it the best it can be. And one of the other kind of challenges we faced is, we are a startup. We've had about 1 million teething issues, and we've got to the point where we have a pipeline that's bigger than we can fulfill, which is a great problem to have. But what I would say, there's so many people who weren't sure if they wanted to try something new. They weren't sure if they wanted to try that new product. They weren't sure if they wanted to engage with their health. Honestly, they were saying, well, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do to feel better. There's nothing I can do to resolve my stress. It's just how life is, one of the most common attitudes we've seen. The only difference between somebody who's healthy, happy, and really enjoying their life and somebody who's really, really struggling, honestly, is that level of understanding of how this system works, because we all have the same system. And when you look at everything in the animal kingdom, every plant, every biological creature has some kind of inbuilt guidance system that tells it how it works and what to do. We are, to the best of my knowledge, and my dog doesn't tell me too much, but to the best of my knowledge, we're the only ones who override it with our own thinking, our own negativity, and doing actions that we know harm us in the long term. The only one who really does that. And it's something that I think I encourage anybody, whether it's through our platform or not, is to try and get that level of understanding of how things work, what things really mean, and where stress, where all of these feelings really do come from, and do what you can to take ownership of them. Because that's really all we're doing, is at scale trying to help people get the tools, get the information, and do so in a way that, it can be explained in 1 million different ways through an LLM that learns from you. But this is something that with enough time, with enough research, that information is available to anybody and everybody. So I encourage everybody to try to understand it, to try to learn, and try to just do those little things every day, and not worry about whether you have the beach body you think you want or anything else. Just worry about how you feel, not anything else, because we can do a lot to improve it very, very quickly. And I'm the living proof of that. Like I said, I'm less stressed than I've ever been, despite everything going on around me all of the time. So anyone can feel that way. There's nothing that makes me unique in that I have that ability. We all are born with it, so we should make the most of it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex, for bringing out that point that we are the only ones who do not actually address our physical needs right away, our emotional needs right away. And this is the feedback that you're getting. Address it.
Yeah,
and that's an important aspect.
It's really that simple. If we have so much data, we have so many thoughts. I think the human brain processes something like 11 million signals a second. We can only hear and truly recognize about 50 of them at any given time. So we can choose which of the 50 we listen to and which are the 10 plus million that we don't listen to. The ring will help you catch the ones you missed. But actually, one way that's really nice to think about it is all of those signals from ourselves, they're just little letters that our body is sending us, telling us what's going on. And we can really choose how we react to them. We can choose what we do with them. We don't have to listen to every thought that we have, because sometimes they are just not helping us very much.
With that, thank you very much, Alex, for your time. It was a wonderful, knowledgeable session for me. And I already feel that I can do something about my stress.
Thank you very much.